for today's session. We are very, very excited that all of you chose to join us today. iVision Live is an initiative, a program of the World Zionist Organization, Department for Diaspora Affairs, that I'm proud to lead its local delegation here to North America. A little bit about ourselves. So our department is being led from Jerusalem by a member of the WZO Executive Board. This is Gusti Yoshua Braverman. And with the help of our shlichim and local educators, we today work in 36 different countries around the world and trying to bring the voices of Israelis, bring Israel and Israelis to Jewish communities. Every program that we develop and create today is relying on the voices of an Israeli artist, Israeli activist, Israeli educator, and we're trying to elaborate the discussion, a very open-minded discussion about it, and trying to maintain the role of Israel as a part of our Jewish identity in this modern world. iVision Live was actually our response to this really weird and crazy time of coronavirus that all of us sitting at home, isolated from the world, but with the great help of technology are able to connect, to consume knowledge together, to ask questions, and to share our passion, our question marks. And I'm proud to say that today for this session we have people from 18 countries that join us today for this session. So welcome all of you, Bruchim Habayim. And we also screening live this session on Facebook. So shalom to all of our friends and followers on Facebook as well. So by the way, if you don't want to be seen on Facebook, shut down your video. And let's start. So enough about us. Let's talk a little bit about our session today. We chose to start iVision Live with a fascinating and adorable film that's saying a lot about the relationship between Jews from the world who choose to change their life and move to Israel. And we're going to watch today the film Sashinka. Sashinka is a short film, and afterward we will have a really rare opportunity to learn a little bit about the process that led to the creation of Sashinka. We're going to meet and talk with the filmmaker and the director of the film, Anna Gurevich. So we're going to structure this session today by three parts. First one is the screening, afterwards a discussion with Anna, and the last part will be actually a Q&A of your questions, guys. We will collect the question from the chat option below. As you can see, some people are already using it. It will be available once we will end the screening of the film, and you can send all of your questions and comments, and we'll collect them and try to respond live. Please make sure that if you choose to send your question, make sure to mention where are you from, so we'll be able to know with whom we are speaking with. A little bit about Anna Gurevich. So Anna Gurevich is the filmmaker and the director of Sashinka. She was born in Leningrad, Russia, and moved to Netanya when she was 6 years old. Anna earned her bachelor degree from Tel Aviv University in television and film, and worked actually in the Israeli industry for more than 10 years. Anna is a very successful and promising film director, and she actually, the film that we're going to watch today, Sashinka, it's her first film that already participated in 30 different festivals around the world. And Anna should be really proud of herself because this film won a great number of awards for the best short film or the best international film. We're talking about awards from festivals in Warsaw, Brazil, Boston, Ireland, Taiwan, and she should and can be really proud of herself. And we are very privileged to watch this film together, so thank you, Anna. Anna won more film with another, more award with another film that she made. Her full-length documentary film, In Papa's Wars, also won a great number of awards. One of them is the prestigious award of Doc Aviv Festival. She recently moved to Toronto to pursue her master's degree in public policy and administration, and now working for the Holy Blossom Temple in the fundraising field. And now, without further ado, we will watch the film. A few technical instructions for you guys. First, we will ask you guys to shut down all of your videos for avoiding any distractions. You will be able to turn them on after the film will be screened. And also, I highly recommend you to enlarge the window of this call for you guys to be able to read the subtitles. The film is going to be in Hebrew and in Russian. And if you are not familiar with both of those languages, make sure that you're enlarging the window of this film and able to read the subtitles to English. So I'll now ask Oli, who is our technical guy, to share his screen, and we will watch the film and meet again in a few minutes. Thank you.
Какой вандализм!
שלום, שמי אילנה, וזה מאוד חשוב שהגעתם היום.
Это Илана. Она говорит, что это очень важно, что мы пришли.
הבן שלך נחשב לתלמיד מצטיין, ואנחנו, בית הספר תמיד שמח לקדם עולים חדשים.
זאת סבתא שלי. אמא בעבודה. היא לא יכלה לבוא.
הבנתי.
Она подумала, что ты мама, и она говорит, что я отличник, и что они рады помогать новым олим.
הוא ילד מאוד מוכשר, טלנט, ולכן בית הספר מאוד הופתע שהוא ישתמש באומנות בצורה כזאת. אנחנו חשבנו שהציורים שלו יפתחו את התערוכה החדשה שלנו.
Она сказала, что я очень талантливый, и мои рисунки откроют нашу выставку.
מאיפה עלה לך הרעיון הזה? ועוד בצבעים שנקנו במיוחד בשביל השיעורים.
Она сказала, что я правильно работаю красками.
בית הספר מאוד נפגע מהציור שלך. זה זלזול מוחלט.
И что это помогает моим работам.
הכל בסדר בבית? אמא מסתדרת לבד?
Она рада слышать, что у нас все хорошо.
אז הכל בסדר? אוקיי? אני כבר חוזרת. מומנט.
Сашенька, я рада слышать, что тебя хвалят, что у тебя все в порядке. Скажи, у тебя правда все в порядке?
Ну да, она же сказала.
Это она сказала, я хочу слышать от тебя.
Ну, Оля, все в порядке, правда.
איפה היינו? כן. תראי, זה מקרה מאוד חמור. אני לא מבינה מה בכלל גרם להתנהגות הזאת.
Бабуля, она говорит, что я очень много готовился к этой выставке, и она говорит, что она очень хорошо получится.
Здорово, молодец, я рада слышать.
מה סבתא אמרה?
שהיא ממש שמחה לשמוע.
מה? אוי. נו, תיזהרי. נו, באמת. סשה, אני לא מוכנה לסבול מקרה אלימות. בטח לא נגד ההנהלה. אני נאלצת להשעות אותך מהלימודים לשבועיים הקרובים.
Что? Что она говорит?
תגיד לסבתא שלך שזה בלתי נמנע, ואני לא רוצה לעורר שערורייה גדולה. איך אני אסביר לך?
סליחה, אולי אני יכולה
He was bad, not good. בואי. כאן. See? This is what he did.
Бабуля, послушай,
It's very, very bad.
им так понравился мой рисунок, что они попросили, что я его нарисовала на стенке. Ну и вот он и здесь.
Прекрати! Хватит мне врать! Зачем ты это сделал?
Потому что она сказала перед всем классом, что я не буду участвовать в выставке, потому что у нас нет денег заплатить.
Понятно. Пошли. Дома поговорим.
Well, thank you. Anna, are you here with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, everyone.
Shalom, shalom. To the people who are isolated in Toronto, Anna, you know, it's the 5th time that I'm watching this film, and it's kind of short, but it's, you know, for me, it's amazing. Like every time I'm discovering something new, like another message around behind it. And I kind of wondering if you can share with us maybe what was the inspiration behind Sashinka? What led you to make this film? And maybe also for those of us who are not familiar with the Russian culture, what does the name Sashinka mean? Like, why did you choose this name? Did you choose it for a reason?
Sure. So before I answer Roy's question, I'll just say hi to everyone, and it's great to see so many great people from all around the world. Also, just a quick thanks to everyone who made this happen, the Department of Diaspora Affairs of the World Zionist Organization and the people who lead it, Lucy and Yaniv, to Roy, our facilitator, with whom I always enjoy talking, especially since he saw the film so many times, and to Lior Sagi, he's Canada's regional manager for the department and the director of Beta Am Films program, which this film is part of. Most importantly, though, he's the person who drives the life and work of me and basically Sashinka as well, being one of the producers of the film. So now that I did explain a bit the people who drives all of this to happen, I'll answer Rui's question. So I did this film at my last year at university. No, sorry, not last year. During my studies at the film and television department in Tel Aviv University, and I basically did it because of sense of guilt towards my grandparents, especially towards my grandmother. Not because I translated incorrectly for her, which I don't think I ever did the way Sashinka did in the film, at least not intentionally. But I could have appreciated her more for everything that she and my grandpa did and sacrificed for us, for me, so we can have better life in Israel. Just like a small background, my father passed away when I was 4 years old in Russia. So I grew up only with my mom, and in the 1990s, we arrived to Israel, my mom and my 2 siblings, and about 6 months later, my grandparents arrived to help her, and by doing that, they kind of left all their life behind. So they had careers, they had family, they had property, they had so many things, but they decided just to leave everything and to come to a new country, not knowing the language, not knowing what's going to be, and just do that just for the sake of helping my mom, helping us. And I think that growing up, like I had, like, you know, as all kids, you don't appreciate enough what the older generation does for you. And I realized that only when it was actually too late. So that's basically what drove me to this. I kind of wanted to share that experience. In terms of the name Sashinka, my brother's name is actually Sasha, Alex, but that wasn't the reason. The reason was just because Sasha is such a popular name, especially in Russian families. I think you can find Sasha in every family. We actually have 2 Sashas. So yeah, so that was just the idea.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for elaborating about that. By the way, some technical instruction. Everybody is free to turn on his camera if you want to be seen. We would love to see you. Again, we have participants from 18 countries, maybe that we'll be able to see each other. Going back to the film, Anna, you know, I think that the film actually presenting a change between the traditional roles between adults and kids. Suddenly the kid is being the bridge between the adults to the general society. And I was kind of wondering if you feel that this situation also reflects your family experience in Israel after you met Aliyah, if you also change the dynamic between adults and kids.
In some ways, yes. Mainly because probably all of us know that every person at some point of their life had to help the grandparents to deal with something, like either it's like computers or whatever. And with having grandparents that are unable to communicate, like not having the language to communicate, made it really, really challenging for them. And then they just became really dependent on me, on my sister. Obviously, being like we arrived to Israel when I was 6 years old, so I became really quickly adopted into the Israeli culture and the language and the mentality. And then, like, none of us had we didn't have another option. Like, we had to help them to either if it's going to the bank, to the doctor, to the market, and they had to rely on us. And I'm sure they would have preferred to do that by themselves, but that was the reality. It was challenging. It was hard, especially since as a child, you don't really understand everything that you need to translate. You don't always have the skill to translate it correctly. And mainly, you really feel a lot of times ashamed or not, like, because, for example, I went once with my grandma to the market and, like, you know, do shopping and all of that. And then she wasn't happy with the price, or I don't know, the person there just tried to, I don't know, charge her more. Anyway, she wanted me to argue about that thing. And it was really hard being don't know, 7 years old, translating whatever she was telling in Russia. Of course, she was really excited and upset, to Hebrew, and then translating it back, and all this time trying to get her to be happy. It was really...
Did you choose not to translate some things from Russian to Hebrew or the opposite?
I'm not sure if intentionally I was choosing that, but I'm sure I missed things, also because of the situation, also because I learned Russian while I was in Israel. Like, my Russian became better in, because I was only 6 years old when I arrived. So I did have my own language problems, usually with the Russian, not with the Hebrew. But it was really hard, and it made me feel really ashamed of the situation and frustrated. And I never stopped and thought what it made her feel. So, yeah.
Thank you. I want to be artistic for a moment and ask you maybe to elaborate about some specific character, the character of the cleaning lady, actually. For me, and we talked a little bit about it before, but like, she's a fascinating character. She's on one hand almost invisible. Nobody see her, nobody give her any influence in the room, but on the other hand, she can be the bridge. Like, she can solve the solution that all the people are now facing. Can you tell us a little bit, why did you choose to add this character? Because what is it symbolizing in a way, some things?
Sure. So I'll start by giving just a little background of just the Aliyah, the Russian immigrants, the immigrants who came from Russia. They were really, first of all, they came like about 1 million immigrants from Russia in the 90s. Most of them were really highly educated and intelligent, and they had really prestigious and important professions and career. They were lawyers, doctors, engineers, etc. And in Israel, the reality was that they had to survive. Many of them did not have the support of family or the financial savings, because remember, they came from Soviet Union. And basically, they had to do anything to feed their families. Many went to work in whatever they could find, and kind of became this transparent people, so-called, working in cleaning, working as cashiers, anything they could find. With time, they did learn Hebrew. They did learn, like, they became more integrated. But a lot of times it wasn't like it wasn't that obvious that they actually are better integrated than what they kind of got stuck in that position. Of course, there's also success stories, actually. My mom, for example, is one of those success stories. Probably mainly because my grandparents came to help, and she was able to, my mom is a lawyer, and she was a lawyer in Russia, and she was able to do her studies again in Israel, studying all the law and like taking her exams, and she was working as a lawyer for more than 20 years in Israel. And there were few people that were able to do that. But again, there were many that weren't able. And so I put this, oh right, there's a photo here that just shows, I'll just explain, like, just for you to see. That's a photo of us on the day we leave Russia to go to Israel. That's me and my sister. I'm in the blue one. My mom is behind us with a gray coat, and that's my grandma on the left side, and my grandpa just like behind it, and some relatives on the other side. So just so you can like have a sense of how it felt. But going back to the cleaning lady, so I've added this character, first of all, because she's kind of a reminder, like a silent reminder of Sashinka's mom, the absent mom. She cannot come with him to this meeting because she's working, as he said. He doesn't say what she does, but for the whole what we know, she can be doing the same thing as this cleaning lady, just in a different place. I also thought that it's interesting to see how a lot of times the people who has more strength, like the director of the school, doesn't realize how much strength there's to other people who are quiet, basically. The fact that
who are invisible.
Or invisible, exactly. The fact that she doesn't realize she's actually can, like, if the principal would have thought about that, she could have used this cleaning lady as a help to her. She could have used her to translate, but she didn't think about it. And for example, I have a great experience about it. I always used the fact that I know both languages, and the fact that while speaking Hebrew, a lot of people don't understand that I actually am from Russia and understand Russian. And I was serving in the IDF, and I had many events, and especially remember one of them sitting in a dining room, like, you know, everybody eats and all that. And next to me, there were like a group of soldiers, Russian soldiers, like Russian-speaking soldiers, and they talked about something and they laughed about something. And I didn't talk to them or anything. I was doing my thing. And then I just laughed about something they said, and they were in shock. They were like, "Do you understand?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I understand Russian." So it was really like a power I had, a secret power, which by the way, I still use. So beware. But it was fun. Of course, like we start talking, all of that. But this is some kind of like a silent power of this transparent people. So,
great power, by the way. You know, we talked a little bit about it before, but for me, the film is actually representing a situation that was happening and relevant during the 90s, the encounter between Russian culture and Israeli culture, Russian codes of behavior and Israeli codes of behavior. And we know for sure that today in Israel, Israelis that were born in Russia that define themselves with the social term of generation 1.5, trying to reclaim the presence of Russian influence, of Russian culture on the mainstream culture in Israel. And I was kind of wondering if you feel that this encounter between Russian culture and Israeli culture today is different than it used to be in the 90s. And also, if we can get a little bit personal, which culture is closer to you? Do you define yourself as closer or more closer to the Israeli codes of behavior or to the Russians one?
So growing up, it's a great question, by the way. It's a question.
Thank you.
Because I think that growing up as a Russian immigrant in Israel, I always had a conflict between the two cultures. But it was like a bigger conflict because Russian immigrants didn't always understand the Israeli culture, and the Israelis really a lot of times could not understand the Russian cultures, and there were really big gaps between those two cultures for many reasons. Growing up, one of the things that I really felt strongly about is that the fact that I don't want to leave behind any of these cultures. I really didn't want to choose being more Israeli or being more Russian. I really wanted to have it all. And such as me, there were many other people that came to Israel when they were young. We actually have a name for this generation. It's called Generation 1.5, because it's like the first generation in Israel, but there's also some they were born in Russia. And all of this huge group really feels strongly about both cultures, and they never wanted to kind of put aside one of them. One of the best examples for that, kind of the way both cultures eventually, which took time, started to work together is the Russian, like the Novi God. It's the Russians' New Year's, which happens on the 31st of December is everywhere. Here's like a photo of it. It's one of the photos. So first I'll just, you can see there that we're having all this yummy, delicious Russian stuff. And most importantly, I'll just explain before, just like a background, this you can see Lior there. When Lior first came to my house and met my mom during this time, during the Novi God time, my mom kind of stopped him at the entrance of the door, and she started to explain to him that he's going to see a tree in the house, and it's not a Christmas tree. It's a yolka, which is kind of the Russian Novi God tree, and it has nothing to do to religious or anything like that. You can probably go and read more about it. It's fascinating how it was built in the Soviet Union. But anyway, she actually explained it to him. She felt the need to explain it to him. Luckily, Lior is really open-minded. He learned it. And fast forward to this picture. It was a few years ago, and I especially love this picture because you can see the yolka behind, but it also was the year that Hanukkah was at the same time. So it was we just lighted the candles and had the New Year's and had the yolka and had everything together, and it was awesome. I wish it would have happened every year because it was really nice having it. So that's one of the stories. Like, you can see all the dishes here. It's really great kind of be able to, first of all, have my own family, like my husband, that really cooperates, and we really love that, all the foods and all the traditions, and learn it, which is, again, not always easy. And also there's just in Israel right now, this generation 1.5, one of the things they're doing right now is kind of trying to educate the Israeli society in general about the Russian culture. There's a group, just like a small introduction, there's a group that's called the Culture Brigade, Brigada Tavudit, and one of the things they do, it's like, again, people of generation 1.5, they're bringing closer the Russian culture to Israelis. One of their biggest and successful projects is actually explaining the Novi God. In the past years, people are actually starting to call it Novi God, understanding there is no connection to religion, so yeah, so basically things are changing, but it takes time.
Thank you. Anna, before we will dive into the audience question, I have one last question to ask, and it's kind of tricky one and personal. You inspired to create this film in the memory of your babula, of your grandma, and I have a question about the last scene of the film. Can you imagine your babula, your grandmother, actually drawing this mustache on the wall, like behaving like sashinka grandma? Can you imagine her doing the same thing?
Another great
thinking
question.
Thinking about the Russian education and codes of behavior.
Right. I don't know if you can actually generate that much. First of all, there's a photo now of my grandparents, my babulia, grandma, Rosa on the left, and my grandpa Vladimir on the right. My grandma was a lawyer, so she has a really, really high sense of justice, but at the same time, she had a really high and kind of I don't know how to call it, but she was really old Russia, in terms of, she wouldn't do that, not because it was against the society, the organization or anything, but just because it wasn't polite and it wasn't nice enough to do that. She would have probably found a different way to fight it. My guess is that she would probably start arguing with the principal in Russia while I trying to translate, and everything gets into a big mess. But I don't think, I can't imagine her actually drawing on the wall, just because it wasn't polite, or it wasn't something educated, well-behaved people do. So.
Okay. So we will now collect questions again from the chat section. Feel free to continue sending them, and we will try to respond. We will start with a question from Denmark, from Max from Denmark, who is asking, how can it be that a country like Israel, who is used to welcome new immigrants, don't understand the culture of the new immigrants? Anna, we spoke a little about it yesterday between ourselves, that I shared my family immigration from Iran. And immigration is a tough thing for everybody, but do you think that Israel did your family expect Israel to welcome immigrants in a different way?
I think that immigration is hard for everyone, by the way. The people that immigrate, the people that need to welcome them to their living surrounding and share the researches with them. And I think that with Russian immigrants, especially in the 90s, Israel wanted to welcome them, but there were so many. There were like more than 1 million of people who arrived at the same, a really short period of time. And despite providing some help, I think a lot of people were expecting more than they got, and some expectation maybe were not realistic enough, or but I think Israel did as much as they could. But also we need to remember Israel was still a young country, definitely like 20 years, 30 years ago, and that it was still struggling to kind of define itself. And then so many people came with such a different culture, it was really hard for them to understand how all of this works together. And also different, like it was same but different, because a lot of people there, they had like Jewish tradition, for example, but it wasn't exactly the Jewish tradition as Israelis were expecting. So it was kind of like, and they weren't prepared enough for that amount of people. And so I think, and I think Israel, again, did a lot of good things, and I know from my family, we're really thankful for it. I'm thankful for being raised in Israel. But as everything, there's, like some downsides of that as well.
Anna, it's related to the next question from Alicia from New York, that actually you start to speak about the Jewish identity, and Alicia is asking, did your Jewish identity change after you made an Aliyah? Like, did you see any differences before making Aliyah and after? What was changing your Jewish identity, your family Jewish identity?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I can answer the question more thinking about my family. I was really young, so for me, I was a kid here, I was a kid there. It wasn't really, but I know that for my family kept Jewish tradition for many years in Russia. We had really Jewish strong connections. My grandpa was one of the students of Bialik. My grandma spoke Yiddish. We had all the holidays kept at home. And I think that when my family came to Israel, they kind of felt that now they can do this like as they know, without hiding. It won't be hard to find matzot for Passover. They could like not go to work during Yom Kippur and all of that. But then it took time for us to kind of understand and find a way that understand that the Jewish tradition we had at home was not exactly the Jewish tradition my friends had at home. And it took time to understand that both traditions are okay. There's no one way of being Jewish. So it took time. But again, we had like Friday dinners. We might have not done all the ceremonies that maybe other people did, but we had our own thing. One of the things that did kind of influenced me growing up in Israel and being Russian is the dealing with the rabbinate. As you know, like Jewish people in Israel can only marry through the rabbinate, and Russians, especially Russian-born people, need to prove their Judaism, the fact that they're Jewish, before being able to marry, basically legally in Israel, because people marry only through the rabbinate. When my brothers were getting married, he had to bring my grandma, who luckily was still alive then, to the rabbinate. She had to speak Yiddish. I have no idea what else she had to do there, but it was a really long process when she had to prove that she's Jewish, meaning my mom is Jewish, meaning my brother is Jewish, and only then he could have married through the rabbinate. And that's one of the easiest stories. There's really big stories around that. And when I was getting married a few years ago, anymore, because my brother proved it, I'm not going through the rabbinate, because I couldn't stand the idea that somebody needs to, like after all my family went through, after all my life in Israel, somebody needs to actually check that, and the question will rise. So my husband and me decided to do a reform wedding in Israel that has now no legal base in Israel, but it was a Jewish fully Jewish, with a chuppah, with everything we wanted, with a rabbi, just a reform one that really did not ask question about how Jewish I am or how much Jewish I am or even if I'm Jewish enough.
Anna, we have an interesting question from London, from Naomi from London, and asking about languages. If you have a different perspective or relationship to Hebrew in compared to Russian, can you do they symbolize anything for you as a person who speaks both of the languages?
Yeah, well, I mean, Hebrew is when somebody asks me what my mother tongue or what my language, I usually say Hebrew because really I'm fluent in Hebrew. But I'm really good at Russian as well, and I wish I knew more. I wish I'd be better in it. Thankfully, again, something I need to be really, really thankful for my grandma. She really insisted when I was growing up that I'll have lessons and classes and a private tutor to learn Russian. It was a fight, a daily fight that I did not want to do. I did not want to spend my days studying, like poetry, Russian poetry, or how to write or whatever. But today I'm grateful for her. And she actually said that. She said that when I was growing up, you'll remember me one day and you'll be thankful and grateful, and I am, because not only another language is really power and knowledge, but I also love the Russian language. I really do, and I wish I could have spoken better. I speak enough in order for me to read, to write, to communicate, yeah, like the challenge will be what will be with the next generation, our children. How will I be able to pass them the knowledge of Russian, also Hebrew? But I really feel strongly about both languages. So I don't like to choose. I like both.
You don't have to choose. You speak both of them. Or from Israel asking why did Anna decided to go to do a comedy film on this complicated issue? That's an interesting question, an interesting analysis for this question.
I think it was kind of evolving. Like it's not like I took the script and I said, okay, let's do a comedy. It was a long process of deciding what do you want to do. I understood that you really need to do a film about something that comes from inside that you have a passion for. And once I realized that, I just started writing, and it's kind of went to this idea. It wasn't intentional from the beginning. I wasn't looking to just make fun or like just laughs and all of that, but I just was looking to make a point while writing and working on it. And it's a long process, like a year or 2 years, and it's for a short film, right? I think that also there's something really strong about making a comedy, about making a point through kind of like with a smile, a point with a smile. Like you don't like just say to the people what's wrong, but you kind of make them feel and think and enjoy, and that was the purpose eventually. And I also just enjoy, laughing and smiling, so I kind of thought that could be a good way of making a point.
Okay. And then one last question from Rick, which I don't know where Rick is from, actually asking if the film is being screened or where can we get a link to the video, to the film. Obviously people are interested to watch it again or use it again.
So the film was screened in many festivals, as you said. Currently, the film is part of Baytown Films program, and you can get it through contacting, I guess, Yuri or Lior or the Department of Diaspora Affairs. It comes with a discussion and all of that. There's many things that this film can be accompanied by. Sometimes there are screenings in different places. I usually publish them, and they're usually published somewhere. Since it's like a 10 years old film and a short film, it's not like going to be broadcast, but it's mainly used today for education purposes, which I'm thrilled about. All over, I actually just learned today that it's translated to Spanish, thanks for the
Wow.
of the Department of Diaspora Affairs, and going to be screened in probably educational programs in South America, I guess, or Spanish-speaking countries. So just contact some of the people from the department, and I'm sure they'll be happy to assist.
So first of all of you are welcome to visit our website, the betham.com website. You'll find all the information about our Anna's film and other films that we are providing as a part of our program. And Anna, I would like to thank you so much for this masterpiece. This is actually, again, 5th time that I'm watching it, and I love this film. And for you opening your heart and telling us about your family and telling about your personal story. So toda raba. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I highly encourage everybody that's watching us today to watch us, to join us tomorrow or on Thursday for the future sessions of Bet Ha'am Live. Tomorrow we will have a session about famine in Israel, focusing on women in Israel, and on Thursday about pop culture in Israel. This was our first session. We really hope you enjoyed it, and we would like to, again, thank you all for joining us, and stay healthy, and let's hope for better days soon. So, toda raba, and להתראות.